Olaf Groth, welcome. You have a very interesting career because you're in academia, you're in consulting, you're an author, you're a commentator. How do you describe your job?
Thank you, Stuart. I appreciate that. It's. I certainly got very lucky and had a lot of people helping me, and looked like everybody else. I had ups and downs and switchbacks, and it wasn't linear, right? I think look, the label, the moniker is I'm a global strategist for mostly tech disruption in the global economy, right? But that's a marketing label. What I really am all about is taking people to new frontiers of thinking, of transacting, of working with each other, of creating relationships across the globe. Right, those frontiers is what I lead them into, and I help them build the capabilities that are necessary to live at that frontier. Right, and has a lot to do with change management, obviously, with having people see what's out there, why they should love it, why they should like it, why they should bring others with them, and how to make change. That's really at the heart what I do, whether you call it strategy consulting or teaching or executive education or speaking. That's really the mission and the purpose behind it.
So one way, of course, that you do that is by having interviews. But what other ways do you interact with people that help them to be able to make those shifts?
Yeah, so obviously I do this in a custom fashion too. If a corporation wants me to be a more or less inspiring speaker and rattle some cages in a positive way, I come in and I do that. We do workshops, 1 day to 3 day workshops. I do a lot of these here in the Middle East, in Europe, and Asia, and elsewhere. Of course, I teach. Right, I have an appointment at UC Berkeley. Haas School of Business, and so I teach young to middle-aged leaders there, anything from undergraduate to executive MBA and executive education. And we do strategy engagements, right? My think tank, Cambrian Futures, is an advisory think tank. So, we come in and we help people think through what are the new horizons and how do I rejigger who I am to conquer those and adjust, right? Those are essentially the four or so ways to do that.
So are you a one-person operation that then drops into different, aspects of commerce in a way? You could say, well, I'm a professor, I'm a consultant, I'm an author, and so on. Or do you have a team that you have to also manage?
Yeah, there are some engagements, right, where it's got to be one-on-one, trusted advisor kind of modus, right, where a senior leader wants to be discreet about what they're looking at and what they need to do to change themselves or change their team or their organization. But I do have a team behind me. Again, the organization is called Cambrian Futures. You can find us at cambrian.ai. It's about 8 people who are working with me, most of them on a mid or senior level. So this is not your stereotypical consultancy with lots of junior consultants running around and lots of mouths to feed. We function on the model of trusted senior advisor, right? With obviously with some analytical and diagnostic oomph behind it. But it's a small firm, and it's a small firm on purpose because we focus on very discrete challenges and charters. But yeah, I could not do without that team. They're great people. We all love working with each other. And frankly, that's a recipe for success. The moment you have a lot of diversions and politics and characters that don't match and the culture that doesn't stick together, right, then you have trouble. And that's when layering starts to happen, right? And we try to avoid that.
So on a day-to-day basis, do you say, okay, well, this is what I'm doing today, and you kind of handle that in a linear fashion, and tomorrow you go to something else? Or are you working in a non-linear way in which every single job that you have is ever present in your mind?
Yeah, no. I wish I had that capability, but I am a planner, and I do look ahead. And we are right now redoing our website, and you'll see a slightly adjusted focus there from what it is right now. We essentially focus on emerging tech, deep tech, geotech, that complex, and what that means is any technology that is blossoming now or in future that will disrupt structures and established paradigms and ways of doing things in the economy or in society, right? And so as such, we do have a focus and we do look ahead. What are those technologies that are coming just over the horizon or that are creating disruptions now? And there is a portfolio from data science and AI to quantum computing to brain computer interfaces, genomics, right? Autonomous systems, synthetic biology, and of course, things that are in climate tech and clean tech, like carbon decarbonization type technologies, trading technologies, and so on and so forth. So it's sort of a discrete a basket of, I don't know, about a dozen or so technologies. And so as we look ahead, of course, we got to understand how is that going to change our clients' lives, our clients' livelihoods, really anybody whom we advise. So it's a fairly structured, methodical approach. But of course, like everybody else, we just talked about this, we have to stay agile. Things change, right? And so we have to as well, and we're fairly nimble being a small organization. But then, of course, there is stuff that happens where you have to pivot pretty quickly, right? So while we had been foreseeing pandemics becoming a stronger force in our lives, we did not see the immediate sort of future of it happening when it happened. And so when it happened, we had to pivot very quickly and offer new types of insights and workshops for people. So there is, of course, an element of flexibility and changing, turning on your foot, as it were.
When you started your, I guess, academic pursuits, looking to prepare to go out into the workforce, the job that you have today didn't exist because so many of these technologies have been emerging. What was your path? Like, where did you start? And, what were the things that came along in your journey that led you to now?
Yeah, so I would say, look, the groundwork was laid when I was looking for graduate schools in the United States. I was born and raised in Germany and got a good primary, secondary education there, but then saw programs in the United States that were interdisciplinary. And most of those sort of fell into the bucket of international relations and diplomacy, like the Fletcher School at Tufts University, or what's now the Middlebury Institute in Monterey in California. And it set me up with at the intersections, I should say, of 3 or 4 disciplines, right? In my case, business and economics with policy and politics, and then technology innovation, and so that set me up, right? And then I ended up in first government relations and corporate, then in corporate strategy, corporate development, venture development, operations development for the better part of 20 years. And so I was grounded in being an executive and leading new initiatives, right? And then, at some point, I found myself not able to look at what's just over the horizon enough. I found that too interesting. I saw too much disruption and pain that frankly didn't have to exist if you just take the time to take the long view. And so I ended up in a consultancy called Monitor GBN, Global Business Network, led by Peter Schwartz and a few other folks. And that really gave me the uplift to then go out on my own to combine that kind of foresightful strategy consulting and advising with some teaching, because frankly, at the end of the day, no strategy, no matter how good, will make any change, will make any difference if you don't anchor it in capabilities, if you don't put it into an organization, see what happens, and then tweak it and twist it. So capability development, looking at culture, looking at people, looking at processes is so important. And hence the combination of, strategy advising and capability building was born. And I'm very happy with it. These parts all fertilize each other, right? So when I do research for speaking or for books, it cross fertilizes into consulting, and it fuels my teaching, and the teaching yields insights that fuel everything else as well. So it's this triad of things in my life that all have tremendous synergies, and that are also very, very satisfying and intellectually fun.
So if somebody were to say to you, well, what do you think is the most important personal trait that you have that has led to your success?
So I would say looking over the horizon at the new thing coming, and then the ability to bring people with me. I am, for all of my flaws, very focused on that human connection. And I care a great deal about both my clients, not just as executives with a business card, but as people. And I have the same care for my team. I want each and every one of them to do well. And that's a deep conviction. And of course, I care about my students. I treat my students like clients, like colleagues. And, there's nuances there, right? Especially with the very young ones. But even there, that ability to mentor, that ability to coach toward a new horizon where people not just see it, but they can feel it like viscerally, and they get convinced and they get inspired and they get stimulated to take the first steps. I think that's really at the core who I am.
Your enthusiasm suggests that you can't wait to get up in the morning and go to work. Nice
It's
position to
truly
be
like,
in.
yeah, I get up at 5 in the morning to do Bikram yoga, which is 90 minutes of torture yoga in a sauna, as it were. But it's all driven by, getting out there and doing my thing. And I travel a lot and just got back from the second around the world trip this summer. And
Wow.
I'm just energized by what I see, the ground truth and the lives people lead and the horizons they have, and the possibilities are endless despite the chaos out there and some of the doom and gloom. The new horizons are truly inspiring, and I believe we can make them happen.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing insights into your day-to-day work and how you got there.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Stuart.